Welcome to the Wild Simplicity podcast, the podcast for awakening women who are ready to shed the layers, let go of the clutter, and rediscover their wild and wonderful selves that lie beneath. I'm Anna Day, and together we'll explore how to simplify, release what's no longer serving us, and embrace the possibility of living fully in this one wild and precious life. Whether you're a dreamer, a seeker, or someone who craves doing things differently, this space is for you. Let's dive in and awaken the magic within. Hi, and welcome back to the Wild Simplicity podcast. This is Anna, and this is episode 60, which I am so excited about. I cannot believe I've done 60 episodes of this podcast, speaking, sharing, musings, meanderings of my day-to-day life, my experiences, what I'm going through with my inner healing, what I'm going through with decluttering and organizing and letting go and simplicity, all of it. So it feels really special to come to this milestone. And today I want to speak about voice, something so dear to my heart, something so close to what I have been working with for years and years, and something that I'm constantly evolving with and developing and getting stronger with and getting braver with. And, I was thinking back when I was thinking that I wanted to speak about this today, because it's very present for me. And I think with the 60th episode, it feels, wow, I have done 60 of these episodes. I've spoken. I have met my edges where I've felt the days I didn't want to show up, or the days where I felt a little bit scared and my heart would have been pummeling, that I continued to do it. And, I've gone through stages with this podcast where it's been very consistent. I've done it every week or every 2 weeks. And then there have been periods, particularly when I started it, where there were, a couple of months where I didn't do it at all. I stopped and hid for a while and then came back out of hiding and went again. And that's all part of the process. And it's so lovely to be able to sit here now and be fully in my body and feel that I can share from my heart, and I can trust my voice. I can trust my soul. I can trust my connection to myself. I can trust my presence being here. And that's all taken practice and courage and reprogramming, my body, and being with my nervous system, recalibrating it, reprogramming beliefs, subconscious beliefs, a whole plethora of things. And, because I used to freeze when I went to speak, I would freeze. I would come up against this just nervous system block. It would be, saying emergency, emergency, stop. And I couldn't actually get words out in varying situations. And I remember so many occasions where I would be in, a group of people, or in a one-to-one conversation, or in work, or anywhere really, where I would come away afterwards and say, damn it, I should have said that. I should have said what I wanted to say. Why didn't I say it? Or someone else would have said what I wanted to say, and I would be annoyed at myself that I hadn't said it, or that I had left a conversation in agreement of doing something that I didn't want to do because I didn't speak up, or my idea hadn't been added to the pot, or any number of ways that it would have transpired. But that feeling in the aftermath of being in a conversation where I did not use my voice, I did not speak up, I've just so many instances of that in the past, and it still happens from time to time, but it's much less. And I really advocate for myself now, and I really trust my voice and trust what I want to say. But sometimes it depends if I'm tired, or if I'm in a certain stage of my cycle, that these old subconscious beliefs become more to the forefront. So sometimes that gets its way rather than me sharing. But more often than not, I'm able to speak up now and share my voice and come forward and not feel like it's a scary thing anymore, because I've been practicing it. And this is something I've been working with as someone who I feel I've always been on the periphery of groups of life, really. And so I feel that people who are similar to me, who are deep thinkers, who are deep feelers, and who are really, really tuned into energetics and to what's going on between people, in groups of people, or in different scenarios and conversations, I have always prided myself in being a great listener, and I can perceive things. I can feel into what's going on underneath the conversation, underneath the words and the language. And so there's so much moving through my system when I'm in conversation with people and when I'm in groups, especially because there are many then energies at play. And I used to pride myself on being that listener and the one who could hold the space and who could allow others to step forward and speak and share. And then I realized that that was, yes, a good quality in some ways, but also a hiding mechanism. So a way for me to stay back and to go into freeze, to be safe in my freeze, but to translate my freeze state of my nervous system to myself as allowing others to step forward and have their space. And it became more and more evident when I kept leaving conversations saying, but I had something to say. I wanted to say that. And as that resentment, and many of you will know this resentment intimately, and the anger that comes up when we repeatedly abandon ourselves or not do the thing we wanted to do. We're never abandoning ourselves really, actually, because we're always staying with our nervous system leads the way, our body leads the way, it tells us what it needs. So it's actually the opposite. We're staying very true to ourselves. However, when we become conscious of how our body is responding and what it is responding to, which is an older version of us ourselves, a younger version of ourselves that just needs reassurance, safety, and to be held. So, but these times when we don't say the thing we want to say and we allow the conversation to move on, those resentments build up and eventually they, they damage us in some way, physically in our health, or something happens. We'll get sore throats. I used to get sore throats all the time. I used to get strep throat a lot. And then I had this whole awakening experience with, which I totally forgot until right now, actually, with strep throat. I think it was 2018, where I finally rid myself of strep throat and I haven't had it since. Wow. That's 8 years ago. And is it? Yes, 8 years ago. And it was usually once a year I would get it. I think maybe twice a year sometimes, but usually once a year around the same time of year. I think it was February-ish. And it would happen to me. And I would get strep throat and I resisted taking antibiotics a lot of the time, but I had to take them a couple of times. And there was this particular year where I was like, no, I'm not taking antibiotics for this. There's some message. And I was where, I've always been in tune with my body. And when illnesses or physical ailments come up, I look to the metaphysical meaning, the psychosomatic, the emotional meaning. And a lot of the time use Louise Hay's. Mum always had Louise Hay's book at home, You Can Heal Your Life. So we used to look up what might be going on to give added depth and meaning and to be able to tune into my body a bit more. So I was working with that and I just knew that my body was telling me something. So I looked up natural remedies, and I was always into natural remedies anyway. So I would have been taking homeopathy and other bits and, honey and lemon and ginger and all the rest of it and whatever other bits. But this was the first time I came across garlic. So I, as a remedy for strep throat, and I opened a garlic clove, cut it in half, and put a bit in each of my cheeks. That I found this one account of someone who had had strep throat and had used this successfully. So I was like, right. So you suck the garlic juices and swallow them, and then you throw the garlic out afterwards because the garlic takes in the toxins. Anyway, long story short, I went through a bit of a fever with that, and I allowed it to move through me. And I had this whole, I think I'll have to talk about it another time though. I had a whole vision of, it was beautiful. It was a very big turning point in my healing journey, actually, and a real awakening to this beautiful vision of a shell cracking open. It was an armadillo, actually, and the shell of the armadillo cracking open. Pretty gruesome, actually. But out of it, oh dear, my throat, out of it came this amazing, beautiful being, this angelic being with gorgeous wings, and she just spread her wings and she was above me. And it was just such an amazing experience, and I never had a strep throat after that. Anyways, that was a little deviation, but that's the impact of my voice and sharing. And that was when I started my business. I started my business around 2018. And so that was a really pivotal time for me to break free and to allow myself to come forth and speak. And over the years, I've always used my voice. I mean, obviously in work and jobs, I had to use my voice, and in meetings, but it was always to do with the job. As a speech and language therapist in London, I used to give workshops and trainings, workshops to parents or trainings to other professionals who were working with children to upskill them. And I used to love that. I used to love that part of my work and training others and speaking and standing in front of groups. And that was okay. That was something I also had an edge to come up against, to feel the confidence to speak in front of other people and to teach them. However, I had no problem with the voice aspect of that, because I was dealing with a curriculum. I was teaching a script. I was, reading from a script, or not reading from a script, but I was had a very specific curriculum to move through and teach them. And so it was someone else's work I was presenting, essentially. And the same in meetings, I might be talking about things our team had done. I would be relaying information. So I found that okay to speak up in those scenarios. And the difference came when I started this whole healing journey and then starting my own business, and the sharing from my own personal story, from my own heart, from my soul, like that real personal element of sharing from my lived experiences. And that's where the edge is. That's where this whole other layer was revealed, of sharing and of releasing and allowing through my soul essence, my truth, following my intuition, allowing it to move through. So that was a huge evolution for me. And the allowing my expression to be imperfect. So with this podcast particularly, I really set the intention that, my business is wild simplicity, right? It's simplicity, pare everything back, make it as simple as possible, and allow it to be wild, allow it to be messy, allow it to be imperfect, allow it to be from the true human that I am, not some pretend avatar that I'm trying to be, like from the truth of who I am. So that was really, always has been a core value of mine and continues to be. And it's what I value in others a lot as well. And I think it's more and more becoming a more and more important value for me as well in this age of AI, and where, faces are changing, erasing is happening. We don't know what's real. But we do know what's real, because we can really sense into when someone is speaking, and you can feel their soul essence. If you are a person who is attuned to energy and to yourself, and you dedicated to raising your consciousness, raising your awareness, and to being attuned to the real frequency of humans, then you really have an easier time of connecting with what is real and what is not. Anyway, that's another topic as well. But the turning point for me was when I started to practice. So started to practice. I didn't have this podcast. This podcast now is, I think, 3.5 years old, maybe. So I started the business first and started speaking on Instagram a bit. And I remember when I did my first post on Instagram, like a written post, I didn't even speak, but it was sharing my voice through this whatever I'd written down in the post. And I remember throwing the phone across the room onto the couch as soon as I posted it, and then like running away to the other side of the room like a scared little child. And, it evolved through that to eventually being able to speak in groups. I was in group mentorship and I spoke on those calls, and practicing in all these little places in my, relationships with friends, with my partner, with all these different ways. And then I got involved in women's circles and started going to women's circles. And that was a real edge, because that was into the real vulnerability. We would speak about really deep topics of what was on our hearts, what was going on for us. And I always knew when it was my turn to speak, because, and I say this in my own women's circles, when I'm facilitating, that when your heart starts to pummel really fast and you can feel that, the excitement rise, it almost as if it's what your soul is bringing up through your body into your voice, into your throat, to be expressed. And that is the time to grab the sharing stick, or to unmute yourself on Zoom, or to speak, like when you feel that pummeling, because that is the time. I can feel it now, actually, the memory of those times, feeling, and I still feel it from time to time when I'm in spaces that are newer or edgier for me. But the practicing of that, really vouching for myself and backing myself to do it, backing myself to speak through the shaking voice, through the sweaty armpits, through the heat rising in my body, and allow all that somatic, visceral stuff that's going on, not to be a deterrent, but to be a signal of go. Yes, you're doing the right thing. This is what we're supposed to be moving through. And holding myself at the same time, and only saying what as much as I wanted to say. But I could really tune into that aspect of me when I was in those circles, of connecting with my intuition and speaking from a place that I hadn't really known or hadn't really practiced speaking from before. And it was very eye-opening and such an amazing part of my path of getting to know myself and getting intimate with the parts of myself that I had been laying dormant and hidden and in the shadows for such a long time. Yeah, so it's over the years I've been practicing with that, and it's allowed me to speak up in situations where I've really needed to speak up, and in day-to-day conversations as well, with my kids, with my partner, out in the wild. And it's amazing to be building up this skill. I've always been so interested in it. I've read books on voice. I've read, and obviously as a speech and language therapist, voice is something we studied. In college, I studied voice. I never actually went down to be a voice therapist, but it was something I was really interested in. I remember doing the what do you call it? The internship, not an internship, the work experience, or what's it called? Can't even remember what it's called, where I went into the hospital. I was working with the voice therapist and the speech and language therapist who was doing all the voice stuff, and it was super interesting. The vocal folds and all the actual mechanics and the physiology of our voice. So it's always been something that's been there, and it's so interlinked with language and communication. Our voice is our communication tool. So for me, it's been so important to really to hold it and to look at where I have learned things about my voice and about what's okay to share and what's not okay to share, and all through the undoing of people pleasing and the undoing of the perfectionist and the undoing of the good girl, and all those veils that are laying over us to water down what we have to say. We have such important things to say, particularly as women, because we have not enough evidence and stories in the world from women. It's getting better and better, but we need more and more and more of women speaking and sharing their experience of life, sharing about motherhood, sharing about their experience in the world, sharing about what it's like to be a woman, sharing about our cyclical nature, sharing about the wisdom we have and how we connect to that, and sharing anything, anecdotes. And that's the thing, when we're sharing and when we're learning to share our voice, it's not that we have to share, so I definitely, from that perfectionist perspective, is like, well, I have to wait until I have something really good to share. I'll wait until I have that really good thing to share, and then I'll share when I have the gold. So no, 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 no. Share now. Get all I often think of that quote by Ed Sheeran where he talks about the brown water. You go into I think he talks about, maybe he was writing songs and he went into a cabin in the woods, or maybe this is just an analogy he used, going into the cabin in the woods, you turn on the tap, the brown water comes through first, and you have to leave the tap running for a while, a few minutes, until the clear water comes through, because the cabin has been unused for a while. And that's like our voices. I always think, and that's what I've always looked at this podcast as, for me, that it's a decluttering of my words. I have to get all the words out before I start to get more potent and more clear in what I want to say. And so speak anything, speak. I mean, don't just speak for the sake of speaking, but really kind of speak for the sake of speaking, to get, if you're somebody who does stay on the periphery and doesn't speak out and doesn't say what she wants to say, get used to doing tiny little steps of vulnerability, of sharing how you feel, of sharing what's going on for you, of sharing your opinion on something, and also then tending to your body. When you share, then tending to the body, making sure to come back to yourself, tending to what's there, what's being elicited in your body, what is happening, what's moving within you. Where is it? Is it making you panic a little bit? Is it making you reminding you of a past event? And tending to that inner child, tending to, like I talked about last week, the parts work, tending to that part of you that is really scared and doesn't know what to do with that, and tending to her and being with her and telling her it's okay, you're safe now, you're here, 2 feet on the ground, we are safe in this scenario. And it's so much to do as well with being seen for us as women, being seen, heard, understood, and allowing ourselves to be seen, and allowing ourselves to come from that periphery, from, like, I always have that visual of me, really, when I go into groups, my back is against the wall, I'm at the furthest wall, my back's against it, and I'm really like pinned up against the wall, not wanting to move. And I'm wondering if we can peel ourselves off that wall and step gradually in towards the center, mingle with the people in the middle, dare I say, even step into the spotlight, step into that light that is in the center. And can you stand there and speak from your truth, speak from your power, speak from your soul, speak from your intuition, speak from what you know to be true? And that is where the power lies. And it takes practice and allowing yourself to mess up, allow it to be embarrassing, allow it to be cringy, allow it all to be there. But that visibility piece is a big one to go with it, and allowing our voices to be out in the world. We're so needed. So for all of you who are also periphery dwellers, deep feelers, empaths, all of the highly sensitives and beyond, even if you don't put yourself into those labels, allow yourself to go out there and speak and find ways to practice this, building this muscle. And for me, the more I have spoken out, the more I have advocated for myself, the more I have backed myself to speak in situations where I really didn't want to speak, but I also really wanted to speak. There's those dual aspects. I really don't want to unmute, but I really have something to say. And what spurred me on was that regret. The number of times I did not press the unmute button and ended a call without saying something, and the crestfallen feeling and that sinking feeling in my stomach, and that anger and resentment with myself, and being annoyed at myself for not having just done it, and then that spurred me on to be the person who unmutes and says, okay, I'm going for it. I am going to have courage. It takes, what do they say, 20 seconds of courage to do the thing. And so if you can just breathe, take a deep breath, do that, just say the thing or unmute and allow it. And what happens then is magic, because when I have done this, and especially in group scenarios over the last few years, I have then allowed myself to be seen and to be heard. And then as a result, connected with people within that group who are absolutely my soul sisters, aligned. They are so my kindred spirits. And they and I have connected because I've allowed myself to be seen and heard. Or they've allowed themselves to be seen and heard, and I have then connected in with them, maybe through a DM or whatever. But there's when we as women allow ourselves to be seen and heard, we connect ourselves with the people we're supposed to be doing life with, the people we're supposed to be around. And that is so exciting. That is the magic that unfolds. And that builds up, and it gains momentum, and it happens more and more. And it is just incredible, because we just also don't know who we are impacting, as another way of looking at it, who we are impacting as we speak. So many people listening to podcasts or to people on social media aren't being interacted with, aren't interacting with the person. And it's so fascinating that we want to know how we're impacting people, but also we have to trust that we are impacting people, and using our voice and sharing our voice could be the reason we help somebody today. And when you speak up and share something, you can be the lifeline, and you can be the person who changes someone's perspective or gives them that permission that they need to change their life. Like, we just don't know. And I think us hoarding all these gifts and wisdom we have inside us, and I'm speaking to myself as well, when we hoard these things, we are not only doing a disservice to ourselves and making us feel resentment, anger, and all those icky feelings, and not fulfilling our soul's purpose, and not doing what we're supposed to be doing here on earth. We are also, and more importantly, what's the word I'm looking for? Depriving people of what they can be hearing from us, what they can be, the energetic exchange they can be getting from us, and the codes that we are exchanging. And there's so much at play that our brains can't even fathom or understand on an unseen level, an energetic level, a spiritual level. But then also from the point of what we share, our words can really land with someone and impact them and change their life. So really, no matter who you are, no matter what you do, no matter what line of work you're in, starting sharing in your intimate relationships, in your friendships, within your family of origin, speaking up when you don't agree with something, meeting those edges gradually, bit by bit, tuning into your body, allowing your nervous system to recalibrate, to acknowledge yourself when you have shared and you've done something differently than what you've done before in a similar situation. Acknowledge, and then your nervous system learns, oh, it's okay. We got through that. We did that. We held ourselves through that. And tend to yourself afterwards. If you need to, if you go through a difficult conversation, make sure you're somatically releasing like the animals do, shaking, stomping, raging, shouting, screaming, whatever it is, to help yourself really integrate what you've done. And yeah, it's so, so important that we share. It is so and so important that we share our voices and that we use our voices. And it's something that I'm so passionate about, because it was such, I was a wallflower as a child. I was so quiet, so shy, so intimidated by other people. So, and I can't believe that this is me now who's able to share and able to speak in a podcast and speak unscripted, not be, thinking what I need to say, or it feels the being connected with that level of freedom within myself there is nothing like it. There is nothing like it. Being connected to that level of freedom where we can speak and share. And I mean, there's so much more for me to go into beyond this. There's many ways I'm still not sharing my voice to its full capacity. And that will be a lifelong journey, and it'll keep going. And it's so exciting because it just keeps unfolding and unraveling in front of me in the best way. And like that I always think of the yellow brick road, and we want to have that path in front of us to see how it's going to go. But that's not really usually the way it goes. What usually happens is we speak, use our voice, and the next stepping stone reveals itself. It comes up, or if it materializes, and you step onto that, and then you speak some more, and you do the hard thing, or you do the courageous thing, or you do the soul-led aligned thing, and the next pebble arrives, and you step onto that, rather than us waiting, which I used to do, wait until I could see a very, very, steady, certain path ahead of me. And that is not the way I've experienced it. And the more we take action before we're ready, you will never be ready. We'll never be ready. We have to do it. We have to just have the courage, lean on other people who are, and share your experiences, because no doubt when you start sharing how you have difficulty sharing your voice with other women, they will have stories of how they find it difficult as well, sharing what's really truly on their hearts. And we can help each other, we can support each other. And so I call on you, the fellow periphery dwellers, to peel yourself a little bit off that back wall and see if you can step forward and share something that's on your heart, share something with somebody, speak up in a conversation, speak up in a group, unmute yourself if you're on a Zoom call, whatever it is, because people need to hear what you have to say. They need your droplets of wisdom and gold. And they don't have to be droplets of wisdom and gold. Just share what comes out of you. It doesn't matter. Share it. Share it, share it, share it. So I will leave you with that this week. And thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being here. And I would love you to send me, if you want to share your voice, practice sharing your voice, send me voice messages. You can send me a voice message on Instagram. Love getting voice messages. So if you want to do that as your edge today, as your, I don't really want to do that, but okay, I'll do it. If you want to meet somewhere, to courageously go forward a little bit, send me whatever's on your heart today, and I will receive it, and I will respond, and I will hold it so tenderly and with such love and compassion and admiration for you and this path that you are on. So I will talk to you all next time. Thank you for being here, and have a great week. Thank you for joining me on this journey to wild simplicity. If today's episode inspired you to let go, simplify, and reconnect with your truest self, I would love for you to share it and help spread the word. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode, and follow along on Instagram at Wild Simplicity for more inspiration. Remember, life is precious, and you have the power to live it fully, freely, and fiercely. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep seeking, and keep embracing the wild possibilities of life.